And if I wouldn't have had so many notes that I want to get through, I would just stand here and repeat that. Because that's really what it is about, is it not? For us to feel so completely one in the one, for us to realize that this love is all around us, and to do whatever we can to open our hearts and to heal wounds and to really allow that love to come in through. And then from us out into the world. So we continue our January series where we are really deepening into exactly that. Because if we take a look at our teaching, the science of mind, at the very heart of it, that is exactly what we have been doing this morning already here, what we have been hearing in so many ways. It is not rocket science, and we forget. I don't know about you, but sometimes I have moments in my life where I'm not 100% fully aware that this love is everywhere present and it's just wanting to come through me and be expressed by me. I have moments where I forget that. I hope I'm not the only one. So our teaching, when we do these January talks on the principles of the science of mind, I sometimes like to go back and do a little bit of a broader overview of what is this teaching. What is this teaching? Well, first of all, we are not a traditional church. Even if this is your first time here or online, you probably have noticed that. Yes. We are what's called a New Thought church or a New Thought center, where we understand that the divine's idea for us is for us to live our own highest and best spiritual life. That's what this is about. We appreciate science, philosophy, and religion, and we seek to get the very best of them and to share it out into the world. For us, science is not an enemy. Rather, we see it as being on the same path of revealing this infinite intelligence that is at the very center of everything. We are not Christian Science. We are not Scientology. If you have any questions, we have a wonderful painting in the lobby. You can take a look at that. It really shows the roots of our teaching. And we are also not a cult. Sometimes maybe one or the other person has heard the question, is that a cult that you go to? My mother asked me that one time. So a cult's intention is to take power away from the people and to control people. When I look around, there is no controlling any of you. We are not a cult. We don't seek to proselytize or evangelize, hard words for this German, or convert in any other way or trying to control what you're thinking. We rather want to teach how to think, to become a magnet for good. Now, we don't proclaim that we are the only way. There are so many ways to know more of the divine, and we are not a revelation of just one person, but rather the truth that is flowing through all faith traditions. Our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, did his work from the 1900s to the 1960s. We do not worship him, but rather we appreciate what he has given to the world. Now, we are not a church of hierarchy. We do have ministers and spiritual leaders, male and female, although the females are a little above, not above, that didn't come out right. That did not come out right. Okay, we have more female ministers than male ministers. Now, our ministers, clearly, as you can tell, we are just like everybody else. We are learning, we are having things happening in our lives, and we need to go back to these tools and remind us of it. So please, 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 don't put us on a pedestal and don't idolize us. Pamper us. Adore us. But don't idolize us. And I'm going to take a moment and I'm going to try to call out all of the ministers that we have today here in the sanctuary because it's amazing. I'm going to start over here. We have Reverend Glenn Swain. And yes, and I saw Reverend Laurie Frisbee and Reverend Karin Russo and Reverend Mark Johnson and Reverend Beverly Strutt and Reverend Jeff Hargis and Reverend Leslie. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is just such a joy to have everyone here. So, all right. So, what I want you to really hear, that we don't believe that we were born original sinners. We were born original blessings. We are a blessing to the world. Each one of us, wherever we are in our spiritual journey. And we don't judge people. We do the very best we can to welcome everyone because we know that every person is God made manifest. The Spirit in action, in flesh. And so that, beloveds, is who we are as signs of mind. Yes. Yes. So this month, in the first week, we revealed the thing, we talked about the thing itself. That is what Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder of our teaching, called that, which is really unnameable. And every faith tradition has something like that. I've been reading in the Tao, the Jing, and in the Tao it says that what we can name is not the Tao. And it's the same that Ernest Holmes really said, right? The thing itself, we can't name it because what happens if we put a label on it? We put it in a box. And that is not what it is. It is always creating out of itself more. And look at the variety of things and people and plants and species it has created out of itself. And then last week, Reverend Leslie did such a wonderful job talking about, I just want to make sure I get the right chapter that it was in. It was, is it what it was, what it does? No, the way it works, the way it works. I mean, Ernest Holmes could have made that a little clearer. Last week was the way it works. Today is what it does. The way it works, the creative process. We are always, always creating. Every thought. It comes into our mind. It gets, massaged by our beliefs, and sometimes those are hidden beliefs. And then it gets manifested out into the world, and that is the life we get to see. I loved how Reverend Leslie used our beloved Reverend Beverly as an example, how her ministry was received by her first in mind before it came out into the form. And so that brings us to today's talk. It flows and what it does. What it does. The master teacher, Jesus, said, "It is done unto you as you believe." As you believe. And I love this story of the three umpires. They have lunch together frequently, and at one of the lunches, one of them says, "They are balls and they are strikes, and I call them as I see them." The other two thought about that. And the second one said, "Well, they are balls and they are strikes, and I call them as they are." And then the third one says, I think he was a metaphysician, because he said, "Well, they are balls and they are strikes, and they are nothing until I call them." And that, beloveds, is what we do in our lives. Have you ever noticed that? Life happens, something happens, and we assign meaning to it. We decide this means that. And I think what this teaching really invites us to do is to lift us up on a higher vista so that we can see what is happening and understand that it is not for us to be taking whatever happens personally, but rather that it is an invitation to know something more, an invitation to take this love and wonderful energy that is all around us, that is the thing itself, and allow us to create our individual creation from that. I love the wonderful poet Mary Oliver, and she wrote a lovely, lovely poem. I think it's called "The Summer Day," and this last line in that poem says, "Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Tell me, what is it that you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?" That is what we are asked. Every moment, every day. So wonderful. And so I promised a challenge. If you get our newsletter, I promised a little challenge. And I want to challenge us early in this year. I want us to be challenged to move from being quasi-metaphysicians to quantum metaphysicians, to know it. I want to call us out of doubting and fear. I want to call us out of alibis and excuses and stepping out of hesitancy and wishy-washiness and pessimism and skepticism. I want to call us out of pettiness and gossiping. And I want to call us into giving this teaching our full attention, our full love, our full everything. Prove unto yourself that the life that you are dreaming about is possible. And when I felt that, as I was preparing this talk, this image of a 3-year-old came to me. And many of you have seen this video, but I invite you to open up and get inspired by this young lady.
Well, I can be a surgeon. Now, my whole house is great. I can do anything good. I like my school. I like anything. I like my dad. I like my cousins. I like my aunts. I
years old, hasn't quite picked up those limitations that we have. But there's this teaching that helps us to heal and to understand the limitations that we have been picking up on our way to this now moment, and invites us to let it go, to really let it go. There are 3 keys that I would like to share. The first one that this teaching has absolutely brought to us is a spiritual common sense. It is a teaching that invites us not to check our brain out in the parking lot and park it with our car, but rather to bring it in, to question, to see, how do I apply this in my life? And what happens if I apply it? Can I find results? And are those the results that I'm seeking? And if not, can I get back over here and understand more? Maybe there is a belief still in me that I haven't quite discovered yet. Because what we know is that there is an infinite good in the universe. And if I have done the work to clear out this idea that I have and pull it through my entire being, it will manifest as a version of that quality out in the world. That is the promise of the law. The law gives unto us as we believe. And so I love that this is a teaching of common sense. We have been given so many tools and techniques, and I believe we have to be willing to get from reciting daily, substantial, spiritual practice to doing it. We have to do it. We have to get with Nike. Just do it. Find what lights you up. That it doesn't feel like, oh, I have to do the meditation again. But rather, oh, I get to sit in silence. I get to feel. I get to develop trust inside me. That the divine is right there. It is right there. There are infinite tools and techniques. Use them. Find the one that lights you up. Take a class. Develop a relationship with a practitioner. Walk the peace garden. Walk the labyrinth. Explore. Get curious. What is your particular way of feeling filled up by the divine? And then there's the willingness to see good all around us. And I think we have a slide for this affirmation that I would love to offer for all of us to say together. It is, divine nature flows as me, celebrating my highest good. Let's say that together. Divine nature flows as me, celebrating my highest good. You know, this idea of celebrating my highest good, what I love about that, one of the things that we teach here is, if we can get so excited when somebody else has a win, when somebody else had a great success, our brain doesn't know the difference. It just feels excitement and celebration and success. And that helps us to cultivate what is success in our own lives. So let's say it one more time with gusto. Divine nature flows as me, celebrating my highest good. Yes. And so we have a couple I am practices to remind us that I am. That is our gateway into the divine. Whatever we say after we say, I am, is what we're claiming. And today, the I am stands for imagining, accepting, and magnetizing. Imagining. Now, we are all good at that. We are all good at imagining the life that we want to live. And if we're not good at it yet, let's get good at it. Yesterday we had the Women's Connected meeting here in the room, and Reverend Leslie was reflecting back on the moment when the two of us found out that our spiritual leader at the time, Reverend Dr. Penny Masick, was leaving, and we both weren't even ministers yet. But she reminded me of that time. Immediately, I was imagining what is possible. What is possible for this community? What is possible for the growth that can come when a community gets together? Because something is happening, something is shifting, something is changing. Have you ever noticed when that happens, people come together to support each other and to grow together? And so I didn't have any idea that it would be me here. But what I was excited about and what I was imagining, what is possible. And so that is what we are invited to every day in our life, imagining what is possible. But we can't stop there. We have to accept it. We have to absolutely accept it. Even when it looks a little differently than we thought. I am sure we each have examples in our lives where we can say, I don't remember calling this forth. Knowing laughter, chuckling in the sanctuary. Yeah, right? That's true. So we have to accept. And why do we have to accept? Well, right there's the answer on the slide. The mold of our acceptance is the measure of our experience. Let's think about that. The mold of our acceptance. As we practice to accept the good that is coming into our life, we are making space for it. It reminds me of the story of the landscaper. There was a landscaper, he was fairly successful, and he met a very wealthy man who had a huge estate, and the man wanted to hire him. And so the wealthy man said to the landscaper, why don't you sit down and let me know what all you would need and want to have this be an incredible job for you. Now take a moment and think about that. Have you ever been in a situation where somebody gave you that and said, think about it, what would make this relationship, this job, this career, this love, this exceptional? And so the man went home, the landscaper went home, and he thought, I want this amount of, in equipment. I would like to have these people for my team. I would like to do this. And he was with that, and over the next couple of days, he realized, no, it's not quite right. I want more. I want more. So he added more equipment, more people, more, until he came to a place where he had written down exactly what would make this to be an amazing, amazing job for him, having all these resources. And he went to the individual who owned this estate, and he gave him the list, and he looked over it, and he said, okay. See, the work was really to mold himself wider, deeper, to receive all of that good. And that is what this teaching asks of us. There is no small or large in the divine. When we go and step up to the universe and say, I am ready for my next great expression, I am ready to experience whatever this is. The universe is infinite. Infinite. We are the ones who make these tiny little molds. Oh, if I could have just this little thing, please. No, no. We are here to practice to say, this is who I am, and this is what I want. And then accept it. Because when we do this, we become magnetized. And that's the M. We become magnetized. And the law of attraction has no chance but to deliver to us that what it is that we are calling forth. So, beloved, that is our I am practice this week, and that is my invitation for you for this week, to get really creative in imagining what is it that I want to bring into my life, and then accept it as it comes forth. And then feel yourself becoming a magnet for the good that is just waiting to make itself known to you. I am so glad we are on this journey together, and so it is. Thank you. Thank you. For our prayer today, I would like to read the spiritual mind treatment that that the spiritual leader of Centers for Spiritual Living wrote for the California fires. There is so much hardship, and there's so much good happening there also. And I love that she wrote this prayer, and I want to read it for our spiritual mind treatment. So please join me. There's one presence, one power, one infinite intelligence that moves through all creation. This divine presence is the source of our life, harmony, and peace. It is the essence of love and balance, expressing itself perfectly in all ways at all times. I am one in, through, and as this infinite presence. The same life that breathes me breathes all beings, all creatures, and every aspect of this earth. As I recognize my oneness with the divine, I affirm that this unity extends to the Los Angeles County and all who have been impacted by the fires. I declare that divine intelligence guides the firefighters, first responders, and all who are working to restore safety and peace. I know absolutely the natural balance of the earth is restored, bringing rains in their perfect season to nourish and renew the land. I see all those affected, human, animal, and plant, embraced by divine love and care. Resources flow freely to those in need, and communities come together in unity and compassion with an overflow of love. In the midst of this situation, I know that the divine is active, bringing forth healing, resilience, and renewal. I give thanks for the divine presence that is already at work in this situation, working in perfect order, restoring balance and creating peace. I release this word into the action of the universal law, knowing it is done, it is complete. And so it is.